Hi folks, Speedway Tag here. I'd like to show you, reacquaint you with a game called Octodice, which is the roll and write version of a bigger game called Aquasphere. Aquasphere, didn't go down too well from what I can tell on the various reviews on YouTube. I haven't had a chance to play Aquasphere. It's probably really difficult to get now, but at the time I got the dice version, which is a lot simpler and quicker, and it's roll and write, so I'm there automatically. It's got dice in it. And I love Octopi, I love Kraken, I love Cthulhu. So this was a no-brainer in terms of mixing a roll and write with Octopi in it. So there he is, great cover. 2015 this probably came out. There's still quite a few copies on eBay and around the traps, so you can still get this. The idea in this game, here's the beautiful pad that you get to work with when you're playing the game. You can play this solo, which I've played many times, but you can also play it up to 4 players, and it's really, really great too. There's a little bit of player interaction, just enough to keep you on your toes in this one, so you're not just completely working on your own sheet. The idea here is you're scientists or engineers on board a research station called the Aquasphere, and you're facing a big crisis because your most important tools, your bots, have stopped working, and you have to try and fix them before and collect these crystals and do all this research underwater before your competitors can get the job done before you. So it's a nice little theme, underwater theme, working in like an underwater research lab. Each person gets a pad like this, and at first the pad looks a little bit complicated, as most roll and writes do as soon as you get your hands on them, but once you understand what's going on here, it's fairly simple. So each person gets a pad here. You lay out these 9 tech tiles, upgrade tiles. The idea is your research station gets better as you upgrade various aspects of it, and you put, if it's a 2-player game, you put your cubes at the top of those 3 columns like that, and as you roll in the dice in certain ways, you're able to come down, move your cubes down these columns like that, on this side as well, and so on, and you upgrade your research station. In other words, you get access to some really great dice mitigation, which of course you need in roll and writes. Okay, the dice aren't fantastic quality. It's probably the only disappointing aspect of this game, component wise, especially considering dice is the main thing in this game. The dice aren't great. That's sort of almost cardboardy, cheap wood sort of feel, but once you start playing the game and appreciating it for what it is, it's a really fun roll and write game with a great theme. You'll soon forget about how inadequate these dice are. There's 6 of them. There's 3 white ones and 3 black ones. On the white dice are your actions, and each white dice also has an octopod on it, but predominantly you're looking for actions on those white dice. And the black dice have just got colors and numbers on them, and you match them with your white dice actions like that. And the black dice basically govern how you take that action, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. So that's basically the setup. And so on your turn, you're going to take those dice and you're going to roll them. And this is really nice, the way this part works. Okay, so I've just rolled my dice over here. And you have to take 2 and put them aside, and then re-roll the rest. And then you take 2 and put them aside and re-roll the last 2, and then you keep those. Okay, it's very simple. But I've never added like a dice rolling mechanism like that before, where you roll your dice, keep 2, roll the next, keep another 2, and then keep the last 2. So that's really cool. It affects the way you play the game. It affects your strategy. What you're trying to do here is, okay, so I've rolled the dice. I'm going to take 2 and set them aside. And you're thinking about your actions, what you want to do, okay? And I'll go through the actions now, if you like. Yes, that probably makes sense before I start taking dice. But I would, after that first roll, I would take 2 dice and set them aside. So right now, I'm going to take the research action die, put that aside, and I'll also take a yellow 0 and put that aside, okay? I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to roll again, and I'm going to put another 2 aside, always 2. I'm going to take that crystal action, and I'm going to take this white 2. You don't have to take a white and a black each time. You can take 2 blacks, you can take 2 whites. All about how lucky you think you're going to be on those subsequent rolls. And then you roll these one more time, and you have to keep these. Okay, again, poor quality here on the dice, but that is a dark purple octopod on a black die. Strange, but anyway, we get used to it. So that's my final roll. And after you've finished your rolling, you have to select 2 actions to do based on what you ended up with. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. So I have to choose 2 actions, so 2 white dice, and match them with 2 black dice, and then I do those 2 actions. What are the actions that you can do? Okay, down in your research station here, let's have a look at the pad and explain what's going on. So the pad's basically split into 2 sections, and there's the top section, and there's your 5 actions. Your crystal action, this is where you analyze crystals. And the way you take that action is, if you've rolled a crystal action die, which I have over here, you match it with a black die, which I'm going to take this action, okay? So I can show you. I'm going to match it with that black die. And whatever number is on that black dice, that's how many crystals I've managed to find. And I write the 2 in there because 2 was on my black dice, and that's come down to my score pad here, and I put 2 for my first action like that, okay? My second action is going to be, I think I'm going to take the research action. So, you can mix and match these any way you want. I could have gone this and this, or this and this. But I'm actually going to take the research action and I'm going to match it with the yellow black die. Because for the research action, which is here, you have to go through these various stages in that order. So the first time I can cross off something on this research track, it has to be a yellow. So as you can see there, I've got the yellow with the research action, so I can cross that off and get the 1 point there. So I put the 1 point in my B action for turn 1, which it says here. Okay, so next time I do a research action, I have to match the research white die with a red black die, if you like. Okay, I've got to get red on the black die. And so this has got to come down in order. This is really cool because obviously the further you get, the more points you get with the crystals. Whoever crosses off the most crystals will get an extra 4 points at the end of the game. So there's a bit of a race with the crystal track. Okay, and so the other actions, and then what I would do is, so I've had my 2 actions. Okay, and then what you do is you check to see how many octopods you rolled. Now I rolled 1 octopod here, right? But if I had rolled a few of them, let's say for some reason I rolled and kept 3 of them like that. Okay, 1, 2, 3. A certain number of octopods gives you extra points. So if I had rolled 3 octopods, I'd get 3 points, and I'd mark that in this little space here. But I didn't do that, so that's a blank. Okay. And then any octopods that you did roll, remember I did roll this 1, I cross them off here because in each third, okay, so this is 2 turns is considered a third, and there's 3 thirds in the game, as you can see there. There's intermediate scoring after each third. So after 2 turns, you have to have at least put aside 2 octopods, otherwise you're going to lose 2 points. Okay, so I have put aside 1 octopod for that turn. I can cross that off. Hopefully I'll get another one and be able to not take this hit here. This is really interesting because while you're trying to do actions and get things moving here for your points, you also have to remember to keep a few octopods to get points here and also to avoid the negative scoring here. So I like that little balance there and that little push and pull. where, like every good roll and write game should have, where you think, oh man, I really want to do that, but I have to do this as well. Or I really want to do that, but I better get this done first. That kind of feeling in a roll and write really strikes a chord with me. I love that. Okay, and then your opponent will go and they'll have their turn. And then you'll have your second turn, which will be filled in here. And they will have their second turn. And then we will score after that first round of 2. And then we go into the next 2 rounds, rounds 3 and 4, score again. Rounds 5 and 6, score again, and then we finish up with the final score. Let me mention a few other things, because we only looked at 2 actions there. This action, if I roll this on the die, which I actually did, and that's the lab action, okay? And that's where these texts come into play. If you roll the lab action, you have to get a number on your black dice to match it, which matches the next level down that you're approaching. So if I wanted to move my cube down onto here and enjoy this special ability for the rest of the game, I need to have a lab action dice, and I have to match it with a 0, because the 0 is the next number down. So I had a 0 here. I could have taken that action. So if I did that, lab action with 0, I could move any one of these of my yellow cubes from here down to the 0 row. Okay, that one could have moved down, that one could have moved down, that one could have moved down. The next time I take a lab action and I want to move this guy down to here, I need to have a lab action dice, but I've got to have a 1 on the black dice, because remember, the next level down is 1. Then I would get access for the rest of the game to this special ability, as well as the one that I've already done. So you keep moving your cubes down here to unlock special abilities. For example, this ability says I can change any yellow dice to a color I want. I can get an extra point for my crystal action. Anytime I roll a research action, I can turn it into a bot action. I'll get an extra point here when I take a submarine action. All submarines also count as octopods, and so on. And then the real heavy hitters down here, where if you get down more than 1 row, you'll get more points here. Here it allows you to jump your cube a level if you can. So the ones down here are super powerful, but obviously it's going to take a lot of lab actions to get down here. The back of these tiles have got another set of lab actions as well, which is really good. So there's plenty of replayability there. You can mix and match these as you see fit. So that's the lab action. The last 2 actions here is the bot action. So if I rolled a bot, where's my bot? There it is. And I matched it with a color. Okay, so that's a white bot. I'd come over to the bot action page, come down to the white, and I would just mark off there. I'd get a 1 point automatically. If I do that again with a white bot, I'd get 2 points. And that's the same for all the colors with the bots. And finally, the submarine action. And remember, when I do this with the bots, I write those points in my action spaces here. The submarine action. Okay, so if I get a submarine going here, over there, and I match it, let's say, with a white black die like that, the white color, come down to the submarine action track, mark off the white submarine, and then at the end of each third or each intermediate scoring, I would count how many submarines I have, and I'd score them according to the number of bots crossed off next to them. Okay, so this submarine will score me 1 point. If this bot is also crossed off, this submarine will score me 2 points, and it'll score me 2 points every single time I do the intermediate scoring. So this can, if I did this in the first third, I would get 2 points every single third. So that's really powerful. So if you can get a couple of submarines here and scoring off the bots there, that's really handy. So remember, the submarines score after every intermediate scoring section. Okay, and that's basically all the actions. And when you go through three groups of 2 rounds, you will finish up by adding a little bit of scoring here as well. You add up your final scoring, which will be sitting here. If you get the bonus for having the most crystals, you'll get a bonus here. And sometimes at the bottom of these rows here of the lab actions, you get some extra points too, as you can see there. And they would be entered into this part of the score sheet. Add up everything. Whoever's got the most points wins. Let me do one more very quick turn. And then there's one last thing I need to point out to you, and that is how the players interact. So remember, you roll your 6 dice, you put 2 aside. So I'm going to put aside that bot, and I might put aside a submarine as well, hoping to get the right black die. Okay, so I roll again. Remember, I've got to put 2 aside again. I like that research and the black die there, the red die there. And let's roll these last 2. Whatever I get, I've got to keep. And look at that, I've rolled, even though it's really hard to see, I rolled 2 octopods. Okay, really hard to see. Shocking printing there to have purple on the black. But anyway, that was a really bad roll for me because I was hoping to get colors to match with these action die. And that's your push your luck here. I thought, okay, I'll put the actions aside, hoping I'll get the colors I need. Push your luck. And I ran out of luck. Okay, so now I've got to choose 2 actions to do. Sometimes you can't do 2 actions based on your roll, but I am going to do this. I'm going to, sorry, that was a red. I'm going to do a research action and come down to the red. Remember, these have to be done in order, and the red is next, so I can actually do that. So I cross that off. It gives me 2 points here for my first action. Unfortunately, there's no other black dice to go with those 2 actions because I've got octopods on those 2 black dice. So I have to forego an action there, which is really bad because points are scarce in this game. Okay, but I did roll 2 octopods, and 2 octopods gets me 1 point. So I'm going to be able to enter a 1 here. And I can also, because I've rolled 2 octopods, I can cross that off as well and also cross this off. So I'm not going to take that hit. And now I've come to the end of the first third. The other player will have a turn as well. And remember, at the end of the first third, you will do your scoring. And that's when you use your submarines. And I know I didn't technically roll this, but I've got a white submarine. Let's say I've crossed off the 2 white bots. So 2, that submarine's worth 2. If that really happened, I'd write the 2 there. But what happens in these spaces? Okay, what happens there is, while your opponent is rolling their dice during their turn, you can actually use 2 of their dice in any combination you like to have your own action. So let's say this is what the final roll of the final roll after the 3 re-rolls of your opponent, right? And he or she is going ahead and marking their actions. But you're allowed once per turn to use their dice for 1 action. So I might be able to go like this with their dice and take a crystal action and actually mark another crystal off, a 2-pointer, and I'd mark that here in this space. And that means I got those points from my opponent's dice. And you can do this again in their second turn as well. If you want to, you don't have to, but why wouldn't you, right? So you get points here by using your opponent's dice. And I think, and we know that's used a lot in games, but it's worth saying how important that is, because it means when the other person's having their turn, you're still involved because you're looking to see what you can use their dice for. And I love that. So you're never really not having a turn. You're always having a turn because you're watching what they're doing as well. And all of this would get counted, and the final score would be in there. So let's just say I got a 1 here as well. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for the submarine. My first third intermediate scoring, I'd have 11. Do the same thing here. Do the same thing here. Total up those 3 totals with your bonuses, and that's who wins the game. So that is Octodice. It's a surprisingly fun little roll and write. It plays nicely solo as well. Obviously, you're just trying to beat your score. Our highest score solo so far is 43. So that's what we're trying to beat at the moment. But I think you'll find that this is a lot of fun, this game. It has that usual, well, that delightful feeling of rolling dice and pushing your luck and, you know, maybe going out on a limb a little bit and putting aside two dice that you hope later will be matched perfectly with your roll. You have a little bit of mitigation of the dice here if you're willing to spend a bit of time upgrading down these tracks like that. But once again, you know, to do that many lab actions, you're going to be giving up points here, other ways to get points. You've got 5 actions, 5 ways to work in your research station underwater. You know, 5 ways to get points. They all pay off fairly well, even if you just want to start collecting a lot of octopods. As you can see, lots of points there as well. And so it's that classic roll and write where you think, boy, I want to do that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that, but you can't do everything. Okay, so the fun is trying to work out what's the best things to focus on while watching what your opponent is focusing on as well. There is a bit of a race here to the crystals. Lots to do here, but once you start playing, you get the knack of it pretty quickly. That's Octodice. Hope you enjoyed that. See you later.